Hi there. This week's lesson that you're going to be studying is about the topic of postmodernity, the time after modernity. I have you reading a second chapter in the book by Erickson, and it's How Does Theology Work? How does it relate to postmodernity? In this time period called postmodernity, obviously it comes after the modern period. If you're looking for some dates, some possible dates to put on that, we have a few. One many people call the pre-modern period would be all the way back in Western history, kind of as far as we could go before the time of Christ. Many people would trace pre-modern all the way up to, say something like 1500 maybe, the time of the Reformation. Other people might trace it even further up to the 1700s, the time of the Enlightenment. I would probably be more comfortable with that. I think the pre-modern time period runs at least until 1500, probably keeps on going through all the way to the 1700s. That brings the modern time period. So modernity, the time when reason, science, observation become the primary ways of knowing. So rationalism often arises during that time period. Many people trace the time period of modernity from either 1500 or 1700 up through maybe something like 1960 in America, the time when things seemed to change. People started turning away from maybe science or reason alone. They start turning away from philosophy. They start turning towards culture, turning towards themselves maybe, and the information, knowledge, theology becomes privatized because it becomes something that's individualized that only a person can know, and maybe the other people around us can't know. That would be called postmodern. Postmodernity, it's not really here yet. I mean, we're just barely starting it, and we don't really know exactly what it's going to look like. How is it going to relate to theology? That's what's being discussed in Erickson's chapter. That's what I want you to think about. You're going to answer a forum question about that. You're going to write an interaction with Erickson about that. How does the postmodern time period, which we're just getting into, what does that do to theology? How does it affect our theology? One thing I like to note is postmodernity isn't necessarily bad. It can have good qualities to it. It does offer freedom that allows people to think the way they want to about God. It allows us to consider, you might say, non-rational ways of knowing, spiritual things. So there's much more openness to spirituality within the postmodern time frame. But there's also this negative aspect that seems like to it. Many people take postmodernity to mean relativism, that we can just do what we want, that it doesn't matter if other people know what we're doing or know what we're thinking, or even maybe it doesn't matter if God is in the picture at all. So I want you to think through those issues. You can discuss those in the forum and also write the paper in interaction with Erickson's chapter. Erickson is trying to discuss, he's trying to figure out, what does a theologian do in the postmodern time period? And you go through those and think about those issues. You can submit your work to me and we'll talk about it. Thanks. Have a good day.